And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud sole lead arranger and infrastructure finance structuring agent of the South African National Treasury's 11.8 billion rand infrastructure and development finance bond. Good evening. Welcome to the program. I'm Stephen Grootes. 8 minutes after 6 this Friday, the sort of last serious Money Friday, I suppose. Trade looking a little light on the JSE. Still interesting to watch some of the trends, though. And wherever I look at the moment, people are talking about next year. That's fair. You would expect that. And they're all very optimistic in some of the most extraordinary ways. We've seen a lot of optimism for South Africa. Reuters has a big piece today about optimism for emerging markets. We're part of that, of course. And all of that looking very, very positive. I realize, of course, that 1 year doth not a summer make, to really mangle my metaphors. But it does sort of suggest there's a lot of positivity around. I think it's also because we've been waiting for so long for the wheel to kind of turn, and with a little bit of luck, it is beginning to turn. So that's part of it. Talking of which, we'll speak to Chris Yelland in a moment. You know, you hear that name. We're going to talk about Eskom. But it's about virtual wheeling, and Eskom's made a big move on that score. You'll have been watching the Warner Brothers Discovery issue. Netflix wants to merge with it. Paramount wants to buy it. But what that means for you, and then the future of DSTV, Thinus Ferreira, the TV critic, he'll be on your radio in about 10 minutes. We'll get some market commentary with Zwelakhe and Mnguni. He's been looking forward to next year as well. And then also, we'll, on Friday File, just talk a little bit about holidays. How to basically avoid common mistakes, particularly while you're traveling. Sibusiso Mkhwanazi is a travel writer. And then don't forget the Friday Biz Blitz as well before 7 o'clock. Good to hear from you. 011 883 0702 and 021 446 0567.
The Money Show
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
and DSTV channel 856.
On the point of holidays, I've often wondered, how often is it that you go online, you look at the rooms, you look at the attractions, the water slides, whatever it is, and you think, I'm going to go there, and how often is it as good as it looks? And strangely, because of the review system on so many websites, you know, they have good, bad, sort of ugly reviews, you can actually get a pretty accurate picture of how good it is. I mean, there's one place I've been to, I won't name it, which was so appalling, and from time to time when I'm bored or feeling miserable, I'll go and read the reviews just to see what it's like. And I mean, it's an art form to write a bad review. I'm sure you've done the same. I know there's a small literary niche, a genre of Amazon reviews. People write whole stories and have soap operas in the review section sometimes. But if I may ask, your best and worst holiday surprise compared to what you were expecting and what you actually got, your best and worst, please, on 072 702 1702. Maybe don't mention the name of the place, but just the story would be good. Your best and worst holiday surprise.
The Money Show on 702.
Monday to Friday, 6 to 8 p.m.
11 after 6. Well, a fascinating explanation of quite an important development by Eskom and the concept of virtual wheeling today from the energy expert Chris Yelland. He says Eskom has started a process to build a platform that will manage the way power is moved from one place to another and then sold. And that movement of the power from producer A to customer B is what is known as wheeling. Well, Chris Yelland is the energy analyst, and he joins us now. Chris, good evening. I understand what wheeling is, but you're going to have to start, I'm afraid, by explaining what virtual wheeling is.
Yeah, okay. Good evening, Stephen. Look, the traditional wheeling generally takes place between a large generator or independent power producer of renewable energy and a large off-taker, which could be a mine or an industry, etc. So it's what we call a one-to-one wheeling, using the transmission grid, the Eskom network, as the transport vehicle. Now, virtual wheeling takes this concept from a generator or a number of generators to literally thousands and thousands of customers, embedded both in the Eskom networks as well as in municipal distribution networks. And basically it enables the company, a corporate entity or a trader contracts with a generator or multiple generators to deliver electricity through the Eskom and municipal network to literally thousands of off-takers. And it's not actually a physical delivery process. It's a virtual delivery process in the sense that what one is really doing is one's allocating the energy generated by one or more generators to literally thousands of off-takers. And one has to have an electricity meter at these thousands of off-takers. One has to measure these the energy delivered to these off-takers in real time. And one's got to then consolidate all of this by remote meter reading of these thousands of meters and consolidate it and allocate it, to that particular trader or corporate. Classic example, and the first virtual wheeling application was Vodacom. Now they've got about 15,000 cell phone towers throughout South Africa in both municipal and Eskom networks, and they wanted to consolidate, green, clean energy, low-cost energy from a number of generators and deliver it to their sites all over the country. And Eskom entered into a sort of a pilot process with Vodacom, and this process, the pilot process, has been successful. And now the point is that now Eskom want to roll this concept out once the regulatory framework and the rules of trading are in place. To extend this in a big way and reach, not just one corporate, Vodacom, but hundreds of corporates and maybe scores of traders, delivering energy to thousands and thousands of smaller customers. So it's not just one-to-one wheeling from big to big. It's from thousands of smaller customers throughout the network.
Would another way of looking at it be to suggest that it is a system that allows Chris to sell power to Stephen, but there are many other suppliers and buyers in the process, and Stephen is not actually consuming the power that is produced by Chris, but it is a way of making sure that you are paid for the power that you produce and that I receive the power that is due to me. So in other words, you have billions of electrons running through a system. It doesn't matter who generates or who consumes them, so long as the right number are generated and the right number are consumed and the billing system works.
That's essentially it. It's not a physical flow of electrons one's talking about here. It's really an allocation of generated energy and allocated it in the correct manner, in a fair and proper manner, accurately to thousands of off-takers and handle the billing. And essentially what it means is that let's say you're a customer embedded in a municipal network. You're going to pay your municipal distributor as you normally did. You're going to get billed with your normal meter from your municipality, and you're going to pay your monthly account to the municipality. But a couple of months later, you're going to get effectively a check in the post from the trader or from Eskom, which gives you a credit on your account, thus reducing the cost of electricity because you've paid your electricity bill. The relationship with the municipality stays absolutely unchanged. Municipalities don't lose out. They're not losing revenue as a result of virtual wheeling. The beneficiary is the customer who gets a check in the post for the green energy generated into the grid by a generator at some remote geographic point.
Chris Yelland, I really appreciate the explanation. Thank you very much indeed. Chris Yelland is the energy analyst and as you know, and of course the person who really is an expert on all of these things. Chris, thank you. 17 minutes after 6.
The Money Show Explainer.
Well, over the last few days, you'll have seen in the US the extraordinary battle for Warner Brothers Discovery. First, they said they would do a merger deal with Netflix. Then Paramount Skydance said they would buy Warner Brothers instead. The board of Warner Brothers has gone hostile on that, saying Paramount was misleading their shareholders. I don't know how this is going to turn out, except to say it's going to get nice and ugly. I do wonder, though, what it might do for the content on different platforms here. Thinus Ferreira is the TV critic. He understands this industry very well. Thinus, good evening. Good to talk again. I mean, the first obvious point to make is that clearly people see Warner Brothers as very valuable. They're 100 years old and they own a massive amount of quality material.
They actually have the biggest TV studio and film studio in the US and in the world, and they are also sort of the name that's sort of most synonymous with the most sort of prestige or premium TV content. They own HBO that not only make Game of Thrones and those kinds of like spin-offs, but a lot of these legacy shows that still in reruns and do very well, like Friends and Smallville and Gossip Girl and things like this. So it's going to be, very interesting. And the process that's going to take at least a year to a year and a half to go through the regulatory process in the US to see who's going to end up, if anybody, being able to acquire Warner Bros.
I mean, I've watched my children laugh as hard at Bugs Bunny as I did. I still kind of laugh hard at it. The obvious point, I suppose, is that if the Netflix merger deal goes through, there'll be a lot of Bugs Bunny on Netflix.
Yes, so Netflix has always been kind of like this wannabe. About a decade ago, Warner then was part of Time Warner, and they sort of said the chance that Netflix would become anything is sort of the same as the Albanian army sort of winning the war. And lo and behold, the irony, the Albanian army has won. Netflix is now sort of bigger, but they don't have really the studio or the production capacity or the prestige that a Warner Bros. Or Paramount or one of these sort of institutionalized Hollywood studios have. So they want to buy one of these because then they don't have to sort of set up all of the nitty-gritty. You just buy the studio, and then with that comes the expertise, the skill, the filmmakers, the connections to James Cameron, who makes Titanic and things like that. So that's really the reason. And then a lot of that content, although a Warner Bros. Will still sort of funnel content to where they have, a lot of that back catalog will obviously end up on Netflix because Netflix will own it.
If it goes the other way, Paramount Skydance, I mean, that's a bit more complicated, I presume.
It's so funny because earlier this year, Paramount itself was bought by Skydance. Paramount itself was sort of struggling, and why Paramount is looking for Warner Bros. Is because it's sort of more an existential challenge or an existential threat. They are both classic Hollywood studios, and they are struggling. It's sort of like the little ones who go, we need to band together against the bigger Netflix. Netflix, although it wants the prestige content, it wants kind of like that HBO feel, it desperately wants to win the Oscars, which it still really hasn't. They don't really need Warner, but Paramount really needs a Warner, or a Warner really needs a Paramount, although now Warner is rebuffing Paramount. If Paramount succeeds in getting Warner, they will obviously be able to be a bigger bird, a bigger swan in the pond. So it's going to be, but Warner now doesn't want to bite. They are more in bed with Netflix. They see Paramount as sort of like a hostile kind of like a bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the regulatory environment in the US, where Paramount is sort of more aligned with the conservative side or the Donald Trump side of things, and Netflix is more aligned kind of like with the Democrats. They're more friendlier with the Obamas and things like that. So it's going to be interesting beyond just being sort of like a media war, a film studio war. It's also a political war.
So, I mean, CNN, sort of seen in US terms as liberal, part of Warner Brothers. I can imagine them in the Netflix kind of universe. I can imagine them. I imagine it might be a way for Netflix to have a streaming news service finally. But I battle to understand, to see them at Paramount. I mean, I think the newsroom would be an open revolt, and that would probably destroy CNN value.
So not to make it too complicated, but yes, another thing, the two deals are different. If Netflix buys Warner Bros., they won't buy the TV channels. So all of those things like Discovery and CNN will become its own separate company. It won't belong to Netflix. So you can kind of say, quote unquote, the CNN would be safe, a Food Network would be safe. Paramount, that has put in a higher bid, 108 billion. They want the whole of Warner, including the TV channels. And now keep in mind they're more conservative leaning, and that's why that part is also freaking out people working at CNN, because they're like, what's going to happen here? Donald Trump has been on the record that he wants CNN to change, he wants CNN to stop, he sort of denigrates their journalists, as he does with all of the media reporters in America. So with Paramount, you'll see drastic changes with CNN. With Netflix, CNN might also still change, but at least it won't be long to Netflix.
DSTV, I'm sure, watching this closely. They're going through big changes themselves. Canal Plus now owns them. Does this affect their offering much? Does it matter? I mean, I presume they're long-term agreements, although one of them comes to an end in a few days' time.
You're really making people's heads spin on a Friday afternoon. So there's yet another wrinkle in the story. MultiChoice, that now belongs to Canal Plus, the French company, that the contract for 12 of those channels that come from Warner, which Netflix wouldn't buy, that carriage agreement is running out at the end of the year. Those 12 channels are hugely popular and hugely important to DSTV. Just Cartoon Network that you mentioned your kids watch, that one channel has 49% of the total audience share of all kids viewing on DSTV.
Sure.
MultiChoice wouldn't want people to know that, neither Warner. So take that one channel away, all of the other kids viewing is also the other 50%. A channel like TNT is the number one rated international movie channel on the whole of DSTV. Can you really imagine a DSTV without a CNN, a Discovery Channel, a Cartoon Network? You can't really, and both of them really need each other. The negotiations are extremely contentious. It is still going on. We're either going to see the channels go dark at the end of the year, then maybe they come back after a few weeks as they sort of play high noon cowboy stakes, or that we might see them do a deal. Or it might go dark and we never see a deal because some of these channels have disappeared on some of the traditional pay TV operators in New Zealand, Australia, and then they're just sort of gone forever as we see the traditional pay TV model just sort of slowly disintegrate.
And very quickly, Thinus, I mean, DSTV next year, Canal Plus has made big promises. They're talking about a sort of single app. We've seen a few experiments already. There was that sort of long weekend where things were much cheaper. What are you expecting from them in the new year?
I will be honest, as a journalist, I don't know. Maxime Sada and David Minot, the new bosses, said that by the end of the year, and how ironic, DSTV would have more content and more and better services. Instead of that, we're definitely going to, on DSTV, have at least 4 fewer channels, maybe up to 16 when we lose the other 12 of Warner Bros. And we're also seeing the Oscars is now jumping from 2029. They signed a new deal with, there's only one thing really scaring Netflix. Everyone's scared by Netflix, but who is Netflix scared by? By Google and YouTube. So the Oscars is signed a new contract. They're leaving in a few years from Mnet. So it's another little building block that's slowly getting cracked away, stripped away. We're seeing all of these things that used to be premium content leave traditional DSTV, and I see it as a trend, and I don't know how it will play out, but I'm sure that DSTV and Mnet will continue to lose content in 2026, whether it was still MultiChoice or whether it's Canal Plus owning them. The future looks dire.
All right, Thinus Ferreira, thank you very much indeed. Well, let's see how they respond. Thinus, do appreciate it. 27 after 6.
The Money Show.
The Markets.
Zwelakhe Mnguni, Chief Investment Officer at Benguela Global Fund Manager. Zwelakhe, good evening. The great pivot of 2025. I mean, central banks are finally blinking. We have a lower inflation target. What are you predicting for next year?
Yeah, Stephen, I think I would expect that we would see a continuation of moderate inflation across the board, primarily because the main driver of inflation being consumption is not so strong across the board, whether in SA and global. But I do think that if we get some rate support by the central banks, we're likely to see that the consumer could hold up and inflation could maybe marginally tick up. But I think the first half would probably be similar to what we are seeing now in the fourth quarter.
Sure, quite optimistic. Nike in the UK, in the US, their shares are down there, and this is because China's sales are down 17%. That's huge. What's going on with middle classes?
Yeah, I think it's not only middle class. I mean, the middle class is currently challenged, I think, even in China. But I think one of the weaknesses during a time like that is that Nike has failed to revamp their stores and invest in their own stores. So it has been difficult for them to attract traffic into their stores, and they seem to have lost the plot there. Their competitors, Under Sports and Li-Ning, are actually stealing market share from them quite aggressively. So it is a turnaround that was promised, but I don't know if we are seeing any progress on that.
You would, I'm sure, saw 91 saying last week, excuse me, we spoke to John Pickard about it, very confident about next year. A lot of this is about politics. Do you think that money might move away from kind of quite expensive AI shares into sort of slightly more boring South African shares?
I think we are already seeing that trend, and I think we are also seeing it through the performance of the rand. That there is quite a meaningful buy-in into the JSE and the bond market. But I think that next year would probably be even better. I think there is a hunger for yield on the bond side, but also on the stock side. Our stocks are relatively attractive, and I think with the stronger rand, we're likely to see our companies getting a relief, some sort of relief from a input cost point of view. So I'd be optimistic as well into 2026.
I mean, the JSE All Share, holding at very, very high levels. There does seem to be a real change with how people are understanding our economy, with what's going on under the hood.
Definitely. I think despite the missteps that we are seeing in the retail sector, I think the banking sector and the insurance sector and the food retail sector, I still think that Shoprite is a good position to be in into 2026. I think Sanlam is a good position to be in. I think Nedbank having share of the ETI holding in Nigeria, I think that's also a good position to be in. So there are some opportunities, but obviously there is one needs to exercise caution around some of the stocks in the retail sector where they have been beaten hard and they look attractive, but there is also possible mistakes that they could commit, like the Mr. Price.
You're not a fan of that, I noticed. I saw your report. You basically suggest Mr. Price is making the same mistake everybody else has made.
Indeed, I think they are, and I think there is an obsession about international expansion, but also expanding into mature markets, into industries that, or at least markets that they don't know very well, and they think they can fix up companies there. I don't think we appreciate some of the privileges of operating in an economy that is semi-closed like ours. So they are underestimating the level of competition, and Mr. Price going into Germany would be a massive value destruction. We've already seen Spar doing the same thing, and the results are shocking. So I would be opposed to the transaction, and I think our team is working hard to actually put our case across multiple forums to get this opposed.
Sure. All right, Zwelakhe, thank you very much indeed. Zwelakhe Mnguni is the Chief Investment Officer of Benguela Global Fund Managers. 21 minutes. It's just, let me start again. 29 minutes now to 7 o'clock.
702.
702.
Stephen is on X.
At Stephen Grootes.
23 minutes now to 7 the time. Well, I won't lie. I've been thinking a little bit about holidays over the last little while, and I would really like to hear from you on your sort of best and worst holiday surprises. So you looked at a website, it promised, 17 pools, automatic waves, free surfboards, drinks and pineapples, and you got there and there was, a puddle. Or You went to a place and you thought, well, this is a bit cheap. I don't know if this is going to be great. You get there and there's 17 pools and drinks and pineapples and all the rest. Probably best if you don't include the name because, but 072-702-1702, what's been your best and your worst surprises? Or maybe there was a town that, your mother-in-law or someone dragged you to and you thought to yourself, why do I have to go to, not so Koolsdorp or whatever? And you get there and it's actually party central, Like, be really good to hear your stories. 22 minutes now to 7.
EWN Sport.
Didn't you grow up in not so Koolsdorp?
I'm from the east.
You're from the east.
How dare you? Speaking of those vacation spots, recently we went to Nelspruit. On the website, it looked like you're going to go to like a nice old vintage house.
Yeah.
No, I think they mistook vintage for old because everything was atrocious.
Wow.
I remember even when me and my friend that I were traveling, I was like, please let me write the email on Monday because I'm ready to read them for filth. And then a surprising one was when we went to Durban. All they did was show us just like the accommodation that we were going to stay in. I was like, it's a normal apartment. What they don't tell you is that you literally wake up and see the beach. And I'm like, if you just told me that, we wouldn't have hesitated. It was the most perfect accommodation.
Sure.
Every time we think about going back to Durban, we know exactly where we're going to stay.
Okay, 072-702-1702. Can you beat Tolakele's story? You've got 21 minutes to do it.
The Money Show.
The Friday File.
The Friday File.
18 minutes now to 7 the time. Well, I don't know what you're doing over the festive season. I'm hoping that you are going away, that you're doing something. Maybe you're going to a new place. I'm sure you also have stories about holidays where things have gone slightly wrong or very right. Sibusiso Mkhwanazi is a travel writer. Sibusiso, good evening. It's been many years. Good to talk to you again. I think many of us just think, look, I'm going to pack and we're going to go. Are there things you should think about a little more carefully before you sort of, get in the car and see how fast you can get going?
Most definitely. So good to talk to you again, Stephen. Yeah, you know what I say to people at this time of the year? Because all of us, actually, I'm going to say most of us are lastminute.com. We're all scrambling to find the perfect holiday right today. On the 19th of December, we think that we're going to get it right. It is kind of possible if you have a mindset change. If you are going to go to the tourist hotspots, that's Joburg, Cape Town, Durban, the ones that we know, Kabeja as well, you are going to really struggle. But what you want to do, if you haven't booked just yet and you're trying to stretch your money, go where the tourists are not going, right? So, for example, accommodation, instead of going to the city center or the city bowl of Cape Town, you book about 20 kilometers away. That's more like the Belleville side of things. You are going to save about 20 to 30% on accommodation. And accommodation is what South Africans spend the most on holiday. So if you are smart about where you are booking, you're already going to save about 20 to 30%, which is huge on holiday.
I would think also maybe you give Cape Town a skip. I mean, we've had advice on this show. Go into the interior of the country and see what you find. I mean, I sometimes think, I get it. I love the coast. I'm not so much a game person, I have to tell you. I really do like to go to the beach, and that's what I'm doing. But I mean, there must be lots of value in other places too.
Yes, where I am right now, I'm in Bloemfontein. People don't ever think that you can go on holiday in Bloemfontein because, like you guys were joking around just now, right? You were saying it's not so cool towns, right? But these not so cool towns are where you need to go to stretch your rand. You are going to get so much more for your rand here in Bloemfontein than you are going to in Durban because everyone is flocking to Durban, right? But I can tell you now, the shops, the Airbnbs, all the institutions around travel right here in Bloemfontein and other parts of the country, like you're saying, in the interior, right, of the country, you are going to save so much more. We all love the beach, especially people like us. I'm from Joburg as well, right? Any moment I get into the car and I drive down to either Cape Town or Durban or any other part of the country where I can get to see the sea. But You don't have to always go there, especially if you're trying to save a bit of money. If you are after value, go to other parts of the country. Come to the Free State. I'm telling you, this place is absolutely beautiful. I love this part of the country. Go to the likes of Clarence. It's not only Clarence, by the way. There are other parts that you can go to. Like I'm saying, I'm in Bloemfontein. People think, oh my word, what are you going to do in Bloemfontein? They have the most amazing food here, number one. Number two, there's a lot of free activities. Believe it or not, free. So I went to the National Museum of the Arts here, and I went to a place called, I think it's the Oliver Hout Art Museum, Museum of Art, and it was absolutely beautiful, and it's free, completely free.
I think many of us, and I'm guilty of this too, I have a family, so you like to go to a place you know a little bit, you meet other people's children, you watch them grow over the years. I know you're a lot more adventurous than I, Sibusiso, but should we actually look at going to new places? Yes, have a coastal holiday one year, but next year, shake it up a little bit and go somewhere completely different.
That is exactly my advice to all our listeners. 1 year, go to where you're comfortable, right? So my wife is exactly like you, not as adventurous. So I have to kind of coax her into going to places where we've never been, right? So 1 year, go to the coast, you know what you expect. But then the year after that, do the savings, and then you say, listen, we are literally going to close our eyes, we're going to get a map, and we're going to put a pin, and we're just going to choose that place, and we are driving there. There isn't a part of South Africa that is not interesting. I have traveled quite a bit in our country, and I promise you, we have the best country in the world, but we tend to go to the same places over and over. But let's mix it up, right? Get that local flavor in the middle of the Northern Cape. Go to that family's house. She has a beautiful B&B. Talk to her. She will tell you what they do to keep busy. Don't just always go and where the tourists go, right? People love to Google, but Google is from people like Stephen who are going to tell you the same thing over and over. Go to the Northern Cape. Go and find out what people are doing in Kimberley. That's where I'll be in a few days.
If you are going to a place that you know, can you still shake it up a bit by going to new places when you're there? I mean, I don't just mean sort of new restaurants, but I mean actually get in the car and go somewhere completely different. If you're in Cape Town, go to Bellville, go somewhere else, go and just see what there is.
Most definitely. I think we are creatures of habit, right? We go to Cape Town, like you're saying, and we go to the same restaurant. But there's so much that you can do. Day trips are one of the best things that you can do. Like you're saying, you can go to Bellville. A lot of people don't even think it's worth going to Bellville, but there's so much to do, from the wine farms to the food. I am doing a food tour in Bellville. There's a huge Ethiopian heritage there, right? So I'm going to do a walking food tour in the next 2 days, and I know it's brilliant. It's been recommended by a friend of mine who's also just as adventurous. So I think about stuff that you love and do the exact opposite. That's what you need to do.
Wow. Wow. Okay, well, I'm not going to go and sit in a car for 2 weeks and look at animals. I mean, I should, but honestly, no. You can see a zebra. It's a failure as an animal. The camouflage doesn't work. I did want to ask, and it's a slightly different thing. If we look at a holiday or travel philosophically, so travel for the sake of travel, which is what a holiday sort of is, it's not really about moving your physical being. I mean, obviously it is, but it's about something else. And is it worth sometimes having a conversation with yourself to say, what is it that I want to do? It's not just that, well, my company is closing down for 2 weeks over Christmas and therefore I need to go and do something. But do I want to go to the beach because maybe you surfed as a kid and you want to pick it up again? Fine. Is it that I want to go and rest somewhere? And actually, probably within an hour of Joburg, there must be, 500 places you could go that are very quiet. Is it because I want to go camping? I'm a big fan of that. I'm going to be very boring about it if we talk about it. Is there, what I'm trying to get to is, do you need to stop for a minute and think, what do I want from a holiday? Do I want to be moved in a place I've never been to? Do I want peace and quiet? Do I want party hearty? Is that a good place to start?
It's a brilliant place to start. In fact, that's where I always start, right? What do I want from this type of holiday? For example, sometimes I want to completely switch off, as in no electronics, no one must be able to get a hold of me for 2 or 3 days. There are places where you can go where you won't even have phone signal. So that's the type of holiday that you're looking for. You need to be able to plan for that. Maybe tell your wife that you'll be gone for three days. You are fine. You've switched off. If you don't have that objective of what you want from your holiday, after a week or 2 weeks or however long it's been, you are going to regret that time, right? Like, oh my goodness, I actually wanted to be in a quiet spot, but I ended up in a place that is so loud. You never want to do that on holiday. But if you have an objective, this is what I want. I want a party mood for 2 weeks. You can do that. You can go bar hopping for 2 weeks. It's absolutely possible. But that's horrible if you are looking to rest. If you've had a really tough 2025 and you really want to have a mental break, you don't want anyone within 100 kilometers of you, right? And there are plenty of places in South Africa like that. But if you don't start there and say, what do I want from this holiday? Then you are actually signing up yourself for disaster.
Sibusiso, is there a place, and I know you've been to many, many parts of the country, is there a place or an experience that maybe stays with you more than others, a place that maybe surprised you the most, or maybe, and I think this, like a valuable holiday can give you this, it can make you think about life in a different way. I mean, I cannot imagine the life of someone who goes out on a boat every day and fishes for a living. And whenever I see that, I'm like, wow, that's so different to my life. Or when I see people living in a small town where everybody knows each other, it's, again, so different. I mean, part of me is envious and part of me isn't. Is there a particular place that you've sort of arrived, or as you've left, you thought, actually, this place is going to stay with me for some time? And if there is, I'll bet a lot of money it's not Johannesburg.
It most definitely is not Joburg. I love Joburg, but it definitely is not it. So I am a huge fan of townships, right? So in Mdantsane, I didn't know this up until I think 2 years ago. I went river rafting in the middle of Mdantsane. There is a guy who is a guide in Mdantsane, and you do kayaking, you do river rafting in Mdantsane. I will never forget that, because I've done kayaking and river rafting in other parts of the world and in South Africa. But when I got to do it in Mdantsane, I thought, this is amazing. I'm here in the middle of the Eastern Cape and I'm doing kayaking. That will always, always stay with me.
Sure. I mean, I think of experiences like that. I was in a place over the weekend, this last weekend. I mean, less than 2 hours away from Joburg. I was on my bicycle and there were 4 giraffe. I'm like, surely at some point the rest of the world is going to wake up to this and we're going to make an absolute fortune when that happens.
Yeah, I hope the rest of the world really does wake up to that. And my prayer always is, let's leave the hotspots alone. They don't need us. They don't need our money, but the rest of the country does. Like where you were, 2 hours outside of Joburg. You don't even have to drive that far outside of Joburg to these magical places. I'm a cyclist myself. I love my mountain bike because it allows me to be able to soak things in, the environment where I'm in. So to be able to cycle 2 hours outside of Joburg is magical. The air is clean. It's green. It's just lush. And the rest of the world, I can tell you now, you get more foreigners coming into South Africa to do those type of activities than South Africans, because, again, South Africans tend to go to these tourist hotspots. We are comfortable with Durban, Cape Town, Joburg, but we don't want to kind of get out there and say, listen, what else can I do? This beautiful and vast country of ours, where have I not been? Sure. Let me go to that dorpy.
Sibusiso, wonderful to talk to you again. Thank you so much. Sibusiso Mkhwanazi is a travel writer, as you can hear. 5 minutes now to 7.
Stephen Grootes
Taking your calls
on 011-883-0702.
Time for the Friday Biz Blitz on The Money Show this Friday night. You know how it works. We put out a question. You call us on 011-883-0702 or 021-446-0567. If you get it right, we move on to the next question. If you get it wrong, we move on to the next caller. Okay, first question on the Friday Biz Blitz. Which major Hollywood studios board has told shareholders to reject an offer because it says the people who've made the offer are lying? Which major Hollywood studios board has told shareholders to reject an offer because it says the people who've made that offer are lying? 011 883 0702 021 446 0567.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud sole lead arranger and infrastructure finance structuring agent of the South African National Treasury's 11.8 billion rand infrastructure and development finance bond.
The Money Show, Friday Biz Blitz.
011 883 0702 021 446 0567. First question. Which major Hollywood studios board has told shareholders to reject an offer because it says the people who've made the offer are lying? Let's start with Thabo in Protea Glen. Thabo, hi. Do you know the answer?
Yes, I know the answer.
What is it, Thabo?
It's Warner Bros.
I'm going to give it to you. Warner Brothers Discovery. Yes, it is. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, Thabo, you ready for the second question? Here we go. What
Yes.
is the name of the person who has just been confirmed as the new U.S. ambassador to South Africa? Do you know who the new American ambassador is? He was confirmed by the Senate this week.
Oh my gosh! And I saw his speech at some time today online.
Oh, Thabo.
Oh no!
Oh, Thabo.
Oh gosh! I'm blank.
Okay, sorry, Thabo. Thank you. Mark in Randburg has just dropped the line there, unfortunately. But 011 883 0702 and 021 446 0567. Second question. Second question on the Money Show tonight. What is the name of the person who's just been confirmed as the new U.S. ambassador? Let's try Mark in Randburg. There you are. Mark, do you know the answer?
That's why I hung up. Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay, Mark, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mark. The name of the person, he called in. He's being very generous about it. The name of the person who's just been confirmed as the new U.S. ambassador to South Africa. Mandla in Rosebank. Mandla, I think we've spoken before. Good evening.
Hi, Brent Bozo.
It is. It's Leo Brent Bozel III. Not sure where the third comes from. Okay, next question. Which major 20 billion rand coastal development is being planned near Belito? It features a marina, residential estates, and commercial space. We spoke to them last night, Mandla.
Sorry, just repeat the question.
What is the name of the major 20 billion rand coastal development that's being planned near Belito? It features a marina, residential estates, and commercial space. It's the KZN North Coast. Oh, Mandla.
Would that be? Yeah, sure. Not cheap there, no?
Not what?
Any tip?
No, Mandla. Sorry, Mandla. Okay. But what is the name of that major coastal development that's being planned near Belito? 011 883 0702 021 446 0567. Mark from Randburg, you think you know this one?
I think it's a Club Med.
No. Sorry, Mark. I'm hoping that tomorrow's kinder to you, Mark. Sorry.
Okay, not my lucky day.
No, thanks though, Mark on the line from Randburg. The answer, I'm afraid, is the Zimbali Marina and Estate Development. Good evening, it's 7 o'clock.